It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Bruce Hornidge. Hi, Bruce. How are you?
I'm pretty fair this afternoon, yes.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. It's nice to have you here. You've got a book out called Loggerheads, a memoir, and 30 years after the war in the woods. Before we get to your book, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us what you've been doing.
Well, after falling trees, I went as a security guard for about 7 years in Campbell River, Vancouver, and central BC Vanderhoof area. Then I effectively called myself retired. My wife trained and became ordained as a minister in 2005, so I followed her career. And we now live in Ontario. My oldest son built a parent suite on top of his garage and asked us if we wanted to retire there. So economically, I can't lose. And we now live in Glen Williams, Ontario.
Do they use the term lumberjack anymore?
No. I haven't heard that one used in reference to us. It's loggers, fallers, forestry crew. Yeah, loggers mostly, yeah.
Okay. So that's what you did as a career for 30 years?
Yeah, I went over to Ucluelet, MacMillan Bloedel operation logging on the west coast of Vancouver Island. In 1967 from school. I was going to make my fortune and go to university. Well, 2 months and working the forest fire that happened in the area at minimum wage. I only had about $300, so the university was out. So I worked 3 years building roads, 2 years as an assistant warehouseman on the division, and then I broke in tree falling in 1972. Opportunity came my way, and I fell trees for 26 years till termination in 97, December.
Give us an idea about the book. Now, it says a memoir. Is this like a straight memoir of your experience? It looks like there's more going on with this book.
I could certainly make a memoir of the prior time of my life and the after time of my life after logging. This one was specifically based on the Clackamas Sound incident. I wrote a paper called The Nightmare, which went through the logging protests and the years after that. And then Apocalypse, I called the second part of it, was the termination and the job loss time. So, yes, a memoir is just of the period of time as a tree faller.
Okay, tell us about, what was it, act of civil disobedience? What did you call it?
Yeah, that was what it became called civil disobedience. They were instructed to get out of our way, remove the blockade from our legal right to go to work. So, we nastily called them, I guess, tree huggers, but I'm not supposed to I don't want to get on a rant about how I felt about the whole thing at the time. But it was a protest, the blockades, for 4 months in 93, and I believe in 92 in the summer there were erratic blockades for a couple of months over the summertime. But that was a minor thing. The one in 93 was major. Lots of people.
How many people were these people like chaining themselves to trees?
Some of them were tree sitting. Now that's when they climb a tree and build a platform to occupy. We can't work around, those people that are causing a safety interest. There were demonstration types on the access to the Kennedy River Bridge with standing in our way and until they were arrested and hauled away, or they walked out of the way when they were ordered to do so. There were demonstrations of a particular type from time to time. One of them was They appeared to have locked themselves in concrete inside 45-gallon drum barrels with their arms. And there was another incident where they actually chained themselves to the boards on the floorboards of our bridge at Clecquaran Bridge, just a mile down the road from Kennedy. We had to cut that person out of there with a chainsaw. He was quite scared for his life at that point, but we took all measures necessary to protect the guy from getting cut. Other than that, it was physical blockades. Children, people, I've used, I mentioned in the book business types, entertainers, European people, people from cities, blah, blah, blah.
I've seen a lot of similar things going on today, maybe not with trees, but with people who are protesting the oil industry, gluing themselves to roads and destroying works of art in museums and things like that. For the life of me, I can't understand how that sort of protest is going to help the cause at all. I don't get it.
Yeah, I suppose it's a demonstration to show the resolve of the person, but it does create disruption and damage to whatever they want to do. Yeah, I disagree with the method, but it does get them the fame and the media coverage and obstruction of the work or whatever's progressing. I mentioned in the book, we sometimes wonder whether we should have just broke out into a brawl, but so many demonstrations nowadays, you do have the confrontation type, which wouldn't have helped us at all, and their demonstration doesn't help them, I don't think, and counter demonstrations don't help the public force either. What do you do?
Well, I guess my point is that, like you said, it ends up in a riot and a brawl. The people that are blocked, like the ones that glue themselves to the road, the people that are trying to drive to get to work or do what they have to do, just get angry. And the media comes and covers the whole thing because it's sensational. But in the end, people have completely forgot about what the cause was in the first place. And I just don't see how it helps their cause at all.
Yeah, a lot of times demonstration and disruption like that, that's what it winds up happening, is you lose perspective on the actual cause, and it creates nothing but anger and anti-feelings towards the supposed protester, yeah.
Well, right. It can almost be counterintuitive, because then people are so pissed off at these people, they don't want to listen to anything that they have to say. Yeah,
that's... it's a route that you wind up hoping occurs, is they go away because they're not being listened to and running greater risk, and they go away, dissolve. That didn't happen, and they keep pulling more and more politicians and people on side, and numbers grow in the media. So it becomes a tough thing to try and stomach from our perspective now.
Well, it's funny about that particular method of protest because it's not something new. Women in the early part of the 20th century, protesting to get the vote in England, would chain themselves to the gates at Buckingham Palace. And this was back in the days of King George V and Queen Mary. And she'd stand there in the palace and look out and just say, how on earth do they think this is going to help? And the police would have to come and cut them off, cut the chains, and, I don't know. I don't get it.
It probably takes a long time, but eventually, voting became a thing. Their issues started to be resolved the more and more as the politicians and people became wise to that. But if you pick an incident cause, like a tree, if you advertise the fact that we're going to kill the planet, that can go a long ways with people to protest. The one fella one day, I mentioned in the book, I speak for the animals who have no voice. It's a media 15 seconds of fame, but it's a powerful statement. Yeah, are we killing animals? Are we, tracking them down and hacking them up with power saws? No. but we're causing a bit of a disruption in their habitat, yes.
Well, to make proper conservation, you would just not cut down any more trees than you can replenish. Is that correct?
You could put it that way, although the planting numbers are, I believe, greater than the actual harvest numbers per tree, And if we make sure we are planting the area that we are logging, we're replacing the forest. My point in one of my interviews back in the 90s was we're growing it back. It takes 100, 200 years to, in fact, grow that tree to a usable size. And it looks ugly for about a dozen or 15 or 20 years. But after that, it's submerged in a new forest. I mentioned in the book about the protest camp beside the highway over towards Ucluelet. It's totally submerged in plantation plant trees now. You can hardly, you couldn't even tell where the hell they were. Incredible. We told them that.
Why did you decide to write this book?
Sort of always said in my own efforts to get the logging practices corrected through the 70s and 80s, that the company is going to suffer the consequences if they don't have a campaign to counter the environmental side of it fairly. So there was no response from our side through the protests, and I thought there's no, who's going to have a record of what we were going through during that protest time and coming up to it and whatever. So I took all the material I had with communications on the day-for-day incidences and put it together in the book. The first parts of the ones I wrote was quite, I'll call that a rant, anti-enviros, huggers, and not whining, but I was very pointed about the political response being so negative, and then the company didn't respond hardly at all with any campaign. So I wanted this book as a legacy, I guess, for me and for the issue and for Ucluelet, the town and the people. Is
the book out? Has it been released?
Yesterday was official publishing date. As far as I know, it's now available through Endless Sky Books, Amazon, Barnes Noble, and your local bookstore can look through the catalogs and order them in as people would like to have a copy. And I certainly hope lots of people would, because I hope it's a good story and rolls along. That's my writing anyway. So a guy likes to see success.
How long did it take you to put this book together?
The two original pieces, I guess maybe 7 or 8 weeks. I started writing additions to that, the story of tree falling and that, a while after. It's been 30 years. I've kind of sat on it because I felt nobody gave a damn or cared about it. My editor friend, Jacqueline Carmichael, encouraged me to make it a book, and we'll edit it up and see if it'll make a book out of it. So really, the last year or two, I've written stories and read them in front of writers' groups, and then we started putting the actual story together in a book form the last many months. You sit on things, right? You write something and you just don't feel anybody gives a damn.
Well, yeah, as a writer myself, I can certainly appreciate that. I hope that the book does well. You said it just released, so we'll give it a little time. The book is called Loggerheads, a memoir, and my guest is Bruce Hornidge. We do have to wind this down. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and best of luck with the book. I hope it does well.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm very happy and glad people show an interest, and I hope the audience wants to know about how tree falling was done in the West Coast and the big forest there.
Okay, take care, Bruce. Thanks for coming on the show.
Okay, thank you very much.